Eala's Manila fan meet sells out Glorietta in minutes. That headline has been racing across Filipino tennis social media, even though, technically, it isn't true. There were never any tickets to sell. On Wednesday, July 15th, 2026, Alex Eala's highly anticipated homecoming fan meet at the Glorietta Activity Center in Makati City is a free public event organized by Globe Telecom, the company that believed in her long before she became an international tennis star. Registration begins at 4 p.m. The program starts at 6 p.m., and organizers were still finalizing access details just days before the event. Nothing is being sold, yet everyone understands what that viral headline is really trying to say. It captures the extraordinary excitement surrounding a 21-year-old Filipina who just 1 year ago was ranked outside the world's top 100 and is now returning home as one of the biggest names in international tennis. This is the story of why that headline is technically inaccurate but emotionally true. Just 6 days before her Manila homecoming, Alex Eala walked off center court at Wimbledon after becoming the first Filipina in history to reach the fourth round of a Grand Slam singles tournament. Her inspiring run ended with a hard-fought 3-set defeat to Jasmine Paolini, 4-6, 6-4, 3-6, but the result only elevated her status even further. 2 days later, she boarded a flight home, and on Sunday, July 12th, she arrived at Ninoy Aquino International Airport Terminal 3 to a hero's welcome. Hundreds of supporters filled the arrival area, transforming an ordinary airport terminal into something that felt more like a championship celebration, while Philippine Olympic Committee President Abraham "Bambol" Tolentino personally welcomed her back. That emotional reception was only the beginning. Wednesday's fan meet is the nation's opportunity to celebrate the player who has inspired millions over the past several months. Throughout 2026, one question has quietly followed Alex Eala, and it is not whether she belongs among the world's elite anymore. She has already answered that by defeating 7 top 10 players, including defending Wimbledon champion Iga Swiatek in one of the biggest victories of her career, winning 7-6 in an unforgettable 11-9 tiebreak before dominating the second set 6-2 on center court. The real question is whether a 21-year-old can carry the hopes and expectations of an entire nation without allowing that enormous responsibility to weigh her down. History shows that this kind of pressure is unique. Ons Jabeur has openly spoken about representing North Africa and the emotional burden of carrying an entire region's expectations. Alex Eala is now experiencing something remarkably similar. Filipino fans have traveled in massive numbers throughout the season, creating unforgettable atmospheres at tournaments around the world. During the Australian Open earlier this year, Novak Djokovic described the passionate Filipino support surrounding Eala as a good problem to have, a diplomatic way of acknowledging just how extraordinary the movement around her has become. Representing a nation is both an incredible privilege and a tremendous responsibility, and that is the deeper story behind Wednesday's fan meet and the viral claim that Glorietta has somehow sold out. To understand why this moment matters so much, you have to look back at the remarkable 5 months that led to it. Everything reached another level at Wimbledon when Eala faced defending champion Iga Swiatek on center court in the 3rd round. She produced one of the finest performances of her career, winning the opening set in a dramatic 11-9 tiebreak before closing out the match 6-2. Yet, after one of the biggest victories of her life, she smiled while telling ABS-CBN in Tagalog that her team had secretly decorated her racket bag and surprised her after the match. It was a small, genuine moment that revealed the personality behind the rising superstar. Despite making history on one of tennis' biggest stages, she remained grounded enough to be delighted by a thoughtful surprise from her own team. She would eventually lose a thrilling 4th-round battle to Jasmine Paolini in 3 sets, but she left London with the best Grand Slam result of her career, significant prize money, and even greater respect from the tennis world. More importantly, She returned to a country that had already embraced her long before she became an international headline. Wimbledon was not the beginning of Alex Eala's rise. It was simply the latest and most spectacular chapter in a remarkable journey that continues to capture the imagination of an entire nation. The momentum behind Alex Eala did not begin at Wimbledon. It has been building steadily throughout the entire season. In January, she headlined the inaugural Philippine Women's Open at the Rizal Memorial Tennis Center, the first WTA tournament ever staged on Philippine soil, marking a historic milestone for tennis in the country. A few weeks later, she traveled to Dubai, where she reached the quarterfinals of the Dubai Tennis Championships. And this time the excitement was impossible to ignore because every one of her matches sold out, not as a figure of speech, but in reality. Stadium after stadium filled to capacity whenever she stepped on court. Following her match against Grand Slam champion Coco Gauff, Gauff herself remarked, "I've played this tournament for many years, and to see the stadium full, it means a lot." She was not talking about her own popularity. She was talking about the atmosphere surrounding Alex Eala. Then came Indian Wells in March, where Front Office Sports reported that several thousand spectators remained inside Stadium 3 until nearly midnight just to watch one of Eala's second-round matches. Her practice sessions attracted crowds comparable to those following Carlos Alcaraz, Jannik Sinner, and Venus Williams on nearby courts, a remarkable sign of how quickly her profile had grown. Earlier in the season at the Australian Open in Melbourne, tournament organizers had assigned her opening match to a smaller court, only to watch fans pack every available space, forcing many to stand shoulder to shoulder along the fences because demand had far exceeded expectations. This has not been a one-week phenomenon. It has been a 6-month pattern that has followed her from tournament to tournament around the world. That is what people really mean when they say her Glorietta fan meet has sold out. They are describing the extraordinary level of anticipation that now surrounds every public appearance she makes. Take a moment to appreciate how dramatically Philippine tennis has changed in just 6 months. In January, the nation hosted its first ever WTA tournament. By July, a Filipina had reached the 4th round of Wimbledon for the first time in history. That is not a normal progression. It is the story of an athlete and an entire tennis nation rising together at remarkable speed. That is also why Wednesday's fan meet carries far greater significance than a typical shopping mall appearance. On paper, it is simply a public gathering with registration beginning at 4 p.m. and the program scheduled for 6 p.m. There are no tickets, no match, no trophy, and no scoreboard. Yet anyone familiar with the excitement surrounding Alex Eala understands that Ayala Avenue is likely to feel more like the venue for a major sporting celebration than a retail event. The reason goes far beyond marketing. Filipino sports journalist TJ Manitak explained it perfectly when he said the country has been searching for its next Manny Pacquiao. During Pacquiao's prime, daily life would pause whenever he fought. Roads emptied, businesses slowed down, and millions gathered around televisions to watch him compete. According to Manitak, that same longing for a unifying sports icon has existed for years, and many Filipinos now believe Alex Eala is becoming that figure for a new generation. That is the deeper meaning of Wednesday's event. It is not the nation discovering Alex Eala. It is Alex Eala witnessing, perhaps for the first time on home soil, just how completely her country has embraced her. The tennis world has been recognizing this transformation for months. Novak Djokovic described the passionate Filipino crowds following her as a good problem to have. Andy Roddick said on his Serve podcast that Eala's rise is exactly the kind of story tennis needs. BNP Paribas Open officials praised the excitement she generated, saying they loved every minute of the attention she brought to the tournament. Coco Gauff noticed packed stadiums whenever Eala played. Following her victory over Iga Swiatek at Wimbledon, reactions poured in from across the sporting world, including messages connected to Catherine, Princess of Wales, as well as tennis legends Billie Jean King, Venus Williams, and Maria Sharapova, Sharapova being one of Eala's childhood idols. Those are not ordinary names. That is the company she now finds herself keeping, whether she expected it or not. And as remarkable as Wednesday's celebration promises to be, the biggest chapters of her season are still ahead. Just 12 days after the Glorietta fan meet, Eala is scheduled to return to competition at the Wimbledon DC Open in Washington, a prestigious WTA 500 event. From there, she moves on to the Canadian Open, Cincinnati, and finally the US Open at Flushing Meadows, where another opportunity to make history awaits. Before Wimbledon, she had already earned more than $871,000 in prize money during the 2026 season, and her run in London added another substantial payday, while further strengthening her position in the WTA rankings. The celebrations in Manila may last only one evening, but the momentum carrying Alex Eala into the remainder of the season shows every sign of continuing well beyond her homecoming. Those rankings may shift depending on which day of the WTA ranking cycle you check, but Wednesday is not about rankings. It is not about statistics, prize money, or numbers on a website. Wednesday is about something the WTA cannot measure. It is about an entire nation telling Alex Eala face-to-face what it believes she now represents. When she steps back onto the hard courts in Washington on July 27th for the Wimbledon DC Open, she will not simply be returning to competition. She will be carrying the confidence, support, and expectations of an entire country. That sense of purpose did not exist a year ago. It has been built piece by piece throughout the season. First in Manila during the inaugural Philippine Women's Open, then through the sold-out crowds in Dubai, the unforgettable scenes at Indian Wells, the breakthrough performances in Berlin, the historic run at Wimbledon, and now with a homecoming celebration just a few kilometers from where she grew up. Yet, for all the celebrations surrounding her return, it is important to remember that she is coming home after a genuine sporting disappointment. Her last competitive match was a hard-fought fourth-round defeat to Jasmine Paolini, 4-6, 6-4, 3-6. She battled back to level the match by winning the second set, but could not maintain that momentum in the decider. It was a real loss, and it happened only days ago. Alex Eala has not publicly spoken in detail about how that defeat affected her, and there is no reason to speculate or invent emotions she has never expressed. What is certain is that her flight home had already been planned before that match was played. Whether she returned after a fourth-round finish or after going even deeper into the tournament, she was always coming home. What changed was not her travel itinerary, but the scale of the welcome waiting for her. The crowds that greeted her at the airport and the thousands expected at Glorietta are not celebrating a single result. They are celebrating everything she has accomplished over the past year, and everything they believe still lies ahead. Which brings us back to the headline that started this story. Alex Eala's Manila fan meet sells out Glorietta in minutes. Strictly speaking, it is not accurate. Nothing was ever placed on sale. There was no countdown clock, no online ticket queue, and no seats to purchase. There is simply a public event at the Glorietta Activity Center in Makati, with registration opening at 4 p.m. and the program beginning at 6 p.m., where a 21-year-old tennis star will walk through the doors, greet her supporters, and almost certainly create memories that no ticket could have guaranteed. In that sense, the headline captures something deeper than literal truth. Nothing was sold, yet everything had already been claimed by the excitement of a nation eager to welcome one of its own. Just days ago, people wondered how many fans would show up. By Wednesday evening, that question will already have its answer. The response was never determined by one Wimbledon victory or one Wimbledon defeat. It had been building ever since her breakthrough run in Miami, the sold-out crowds in Dubai, the unforgettable nights at Indian Wells, and every milestone that followed. Many of those fans will remember the score that stunned the tennis world, 7-6 with an unforgettable 11-9 tiebreak, followed by a commanding 6-2 victory over defending champion IGA Swiatek on center court. But more than any scoreline, they will be cheering for the player whose journey has become a source of pride for an entire nation. Alex Eala now belongs on the biggest stages in world tennis, and she also belongs in the hearts of the people waiting to welcome her home. On Wednesday evening, those two worlds meet in the same place. And after the celebration comes the next challenge: Washington, the North American hardcourt swing, the Canadian Open, Cincinnati, and finally the US Open. If this remarkable season has proven anything, it is that every chapter seems to lead to an even bigger one. And perhaps the next chapter begins not inside a stadium, but inside a shopping mall in Makati, where no ticket was ever required because this homecoming was always meant to belong to everyone.